Halo semuanya, selamat pagi atau siang, sore, saya tidak tahu. Nanti Mas dan Mbak mau menonton video ini jam berapa. Salam kenal. My name is Tyler, and I was in ID 9. I was in Peace Corps Indonesia from 2015 until 2018. So actually for 3 years. I did my first 2 years at SMP Darul Ulum 1 in Jombang, East Java. And then for my third year, I moved to NTT, to Kupang with two other volunteers, and we went there to help expand the Peace Corps program into NTT. So I have quite a bit of experience teaching students, not only in Peace Corps, but after I finished Peace Corps, I ended up staying and teaching English in Kupang for 4 years. So I've taught elementary school kids, middle school, high school, college age kids, even adults and some preschoolers. So I've had a lot of experience teaching English as a second language in Indonesia. And today we're going to talk about vocab and some games and activities you can do for teaching vocabulary. And hopefully, some of my experiences and some of the activities that I've had success with in the past will be something useful that you can use in your classrooms when you get to your school. So, here's just a few ideas. And I've asked some other teacher friends that I have in Indonesia and also some other PCVs, some games that they have done or activities they've done that were successful. So I'm going to share those with you as well. So the first one I've got for you is spoons. If you're familiar with the card game Spoons, where you pass the cards around in a circle, and then once you have four or eight, all of the same number, then you have to grab the spoon from the middle, and whoever doesn't get a spoon is eliminated, right? Well, we're gonna adapt that to learn vocabulary. So you would still put spoons in the middle, and you would have one fewer spoon than there are students. And because you will be in the classroom with your CP, it's easier to break the students up into smaller groups. So you're not having 30 kids all playing in one circle, right? So you pass around flashcards. So you would have to make some flashcards before the class started, you and your CP. And you'll put the spoons in the middle, one fewer spoon than there are students in the circle. Play some music or something, or you can just say go, have them pass the flashcards around. And then when you say stop or when you stop the music, everyone has to rush and grab a spoon. And whoever does not have a spoon then has to use their vocab word that's on their flashcard in a sentence, or you can ask them to do something else with that vocab word. So that's one fun game that they can play. Another one is called Stoplight. So you could have a picture of a stoplight, or you could draw one on the board, whatever you want to do, and you have the green, the yellow, and the red. So if you point at the green, then they have to yell the word, right? So you would show them a word, and then you would point at one of the colors, green or yellow or red. So if it's green, they have to yell the word. So if you're showing a horse and you point at the green, they have to go horse really loud. If you point at the yellow, then they have to whisper it, horse. And if you point at the red one, they're not allowed to talk at all, but they have to act out the word in some way. So that's a good way for them to practice and also get to have some fun. You can do run and find. This is a game that my CPs in Jombang and I used to play a lot actually, and the kids really liked it. So we would take them out to the basketball court, and we had papers that had vocab words on it in Bahasa Indonesia. And then we had the English version on a different paper, and we put them in two boxes. So all the English words were in two boxes, and we put them at one end of the basketball court. And then we had the students on the other end of the court, and they had to stand in two lines. And we gave each student a word, a piece of paper with the word in Bahasa Indonesia. And then they had to run to the other end, find the English version in their team's box, and bring it back to us. And if they were right, then the next person could go and find their word and come back. And it was a race to see which team could find all of their words the fastest. And the kids really liked it because they got to run, they got to compete against each other, and they were practicing translating things from Bahasa Indonesia into English, which was good, and they enjoyed doing that. So that's another option. I also find that simple games like crossword puzzles or matching games, they get really excited about, especially if you can make it a race or make it a competition. So you can find crossword puzzle generators online. They're very easy to make. It'll take you 5 minutes to make one. You just put in all the clues that you want, and then the answers would be the different vocab words, right? So if you're studying animals, maybe one of the answers is giraffe, and so you would just put in an animal with a long neck, something like that. So it takes very little time to make, and the students like to try and figure out the answers, and it's also good practice for them for spelling the words, because sometimes they'll memorize how to say the word. They'll know the word elephant or giraffe or whatever it is, but they won't necessarily know how to spell the word, or if they read it, because in Indonesian, all of the words are spelled the way they sound. But in English, that's not the same, right? Elephant doesn't have an F, and giraffe doesn't have a J at the beginning, and it has a double F. So they might know the word, but they might not know how to read the word or how to spell the word. So this is another good way for them to practice the vocab, but also practice another skill at the same time. Because you don't have to focus specifically on one skill, right? A game, an activity, it could be for vocab and listening, or vocab and reading. It doesn't have to just be vocab strictly. So that's a good one, the crossword. Otherwise, matching games. So if you have the papers with Bahasa Indonesia and English that you've already made for the run and find game, you could use them for this too. But you would need multiple sets, and maybe you have the students working in pairs or even individually on their desk, and you give each of them however many words, both in Indonesian and then in English, and have them flip them over and try to match them together, and whichever person can do it the fastest would be the winner. You could give them a piece of candy or a sticker or something. Kids get really excited about just getting small prizes like that. The important thing for them is the winning. So that's something really fun you can do. Another game is called 1, 2, 3, 4 together. So what you do is you come up with actions that the kids have to do for different vocab words. So for example, the one that I've played before with students is if you're learning about things out in the street. If you say lamppost, one person has to stand and they have to make a lamppost, right? So every student would do it. Every student individually has to stand up and be a lamppost. If you say bridge, then two people have to get together and they have to hold their hands like this so their hands are touching and making a bridge across each other. If you say stoplight, then three people have to run together, make a group of three. One person sits on the floor, one person squats kind of above them, and one person stands up, and they have to flash their hands like a stoplight. And if you say intersection, then four people have to stand back to back, almost like an X or a cross, and put their hands straight out like they're making a four-way intersection. And if your numbers aren't even, sometimes it won't work out. Someone will end up not having a group or whatever, and then that person would be kind of the loser of the round. But they always have fun doing that. So you could come up with whatever actions you want for 1, 2, 3, 4 people to have to do together. I would say some advice I have for you, though, for teaching vocabulary or any skill is to try and make it as active as possible. The students really are used to going to school from 7 a.m. until they go home, just sitting and listening to the teachers talk and maybe taking some notes, but not really doing anything. They hardly ever get up out of their chairs. They don't have fun. So anything that you can do where they get to get up, move around, do actions, run, be active, they really love that. And it will make it a lot more fun for them and for you. And also, they really like competitions. So anything that you can make a competition, even if it's something that seems silly, they will enjoy it and it'll make it a lot more fun for them. I think that Indonesian students and American students are very similar in a lot of ways, but also very different. And sometimes things that you think will not go over well or things that you think a student won't like, they actually really will like. For example, the stoplight game that I mentioned earlier, where they have to yell or whisper or act it out, I always thought that seemed kind of childish and maybe for little kids, but not for middle school, because I taught in a middle school when I was in Jombang. But actually, the kids really loved it and really had fun with it, getting to yell or whisper or act. So just try it, is my advice. You never know what things the students are actually going to really like. And if you have an activity they don't like, then you just don't do it again, right? It's not a big deal. But try to be active, try to make things fun, try to make competitions. But one important thing, and I know that you already were told this, you learned about pre, during, and post activities, is to make sure that your activities, your games, whatever you're doing, fit into a larger lesson plan, and that you are also teaching some sort of material, and that you're not just playing games for the sake of playing games. A lot of your CPs and a lot of CPs from past volunteers get really excited about the game playing because when they were students growing up, they never played games in school, ever. They sat and listened to the teacher's lecture and that was it. And when they went through their teacher courses in college, that's what they learned to do. You stand up, you teach your students, and the students sit there quietly and listen and write notes or whatever they're doing. And as teachers, that's all they've done. So when you come into the classroom and you show up and say, look, we can learn, but we can also have fun. We can play games, we can do activities. Most of the CPs, if not all of them, get really excited about that because they want to have fun too, right? They get bored just standing and talking every day. But they don't always know how to fit it into a larger plan because as a student and as a teacher, they've never experienced that. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind and also will probably have to remind your CPs of. We can play games and do activities even in every single class period. You could do it. You could do it every day, but it needs to fit into the larger learning. So make sure that it's not just having fun for the sake of having fun, but that they're actually practicing a skill, in this case, vocabulary, and that the students are actually learning something and that at the end of the activity, they've improved in some way. They know the vocabulary better, or they can use the vocabulary in a sentence more than they could before. So whatever activities you do, make it fun, but make it learning, right? So those are just some ideas I have for you for vocabulary, and there are hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of other games that you could play for vocabulary. You can find resources online. You can ask the Peace Corps staff. You can even contact me. I'll give you my contact information. Or if you have contact with other Peace Corps volunteers, that's also a great resource. And for those of you who have never been teachers before, I just want to say, don't worry about it. Okay. In ID9, there were 64 volunteers, and I was the only one who had been a teacher before we went to the classroom and before we moved to our sites. And all of them were very nervous about going to teach and very scared about being in front of a classroom in front of 30 kids or 40 kids. But the truth is, everyone enjoyed it. At the end of the 2 years, not one person was scared about their students or looked back and said, oh, I can't believe I had to be in front of a classroom. Everyone was so happy. So just enjoy it. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Yeah, you'll make mistakes, but all teachers make mistakes every day in their classroom. So it's going to be all right. And the kids are just going to be happy to have you there. So that's my advice for you for vocab, and I will see you again some other time. If you want to contact me, though, I can give you my WhatsApp number. So I have an Indonesian WhatsApp number actually. It's 0822 5478 1445. So you can WhatsApp me at that number. Otherwise, Ananda or someone can give you my email, and you can contact me that way too. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of your PST.